So we are back and we're talking about Slammiversary. Let's start with positives. This is a picture from the event.
Yes. So I guess it's not really an auditorium, it's more of a stadium because for all intents and purposes, it is a stadium.
It holds about 4,000 people. It is a hockey arena.
Yep, it is. You can see the shape. It looks like a hockey arena. It seats about 4,000 people, and they had about 4,000 people at the event. So
I heard about 3,500.
Yeah, so
kind of. But this is the biggest gate that TNA has had in a very long time, if not ever.
I think it was the biggest gate in 10 years, is what I heard.
Yes. So this is a very big thing for TNA. I am so thrilled to bits about it. It's great.
Absolutely. And there were a lot of Montreal Canadian natives are also members of the TNA roster, which I think helped a little bit as well.
Probably. But I just wanted to do this as a positive because TNA is growing as a company.
I think TNA had more people in this arena than AEW had in their arena on the same night.
Yep, exactly. And that's weird. I want to talk this because we had a couple of breakout performances as it relates to matches. AJ Francis was the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
They made it a hardcore match, and they really told a great story. AJ Francis has a great presence. He's doing this stuff.
A lot of people are just redeeming themselves in this. And TNA is where you need to go if you want to redeem your career.
Exactly.
Like, if your career is in a lump and you want to get released.
You have AJ Francis, Ash by Elegance, Nick Nemeth.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these people are coming in here and just knocking it out of the park every time.
Yeah. And that's a positive because I think TNA has always been known for being a place where people go to get their career resurgences.
Kurt Angle, as an example, was a bit... Well, Kurt Angle...
Drew Galloway.
Yep, Drew Galloway.
Bobby Lashley.
Trinity, if you want one that's even a little bit closer. Or Naomi nowadays.
Right.
So it's a Nick Aldis... But he was more NWA. I see him more as NWA than TNA, to be honest with you, because he kind of started his United States career in TNA, and now it's kind of at a different time too.
Right. So
I wanted to make this as a positive.
A lot of people are redeeming themselves as they always do in TNA, and AJ Francis is a good example of it.
Exactly.
He's establishing himself as a star.
This blew all of my expectations out of the water.
I loved the bit with Earl Hebner in Montreal trying and Mustafa Ali is trying to get him to repeat the screw job.
Yep, and he was wearing Bret Hart gear too, which was great. I loved everything about this match. The crowd was super hot with it.
Yeah, well, because obviously Mike Bailey is literally lived like
another person
15 minutes south of
another
the arena.
Right, another person of redemption.
Yep.
Mustafa Ali.
Yes.
Getting in there, doing this political gimmick that's just been phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely.
This match was excellent.
It was.
This was 2 thumbs up. If you want match of the year candidate, this has to be up there.
Yeah. And
it was great.
Yeah,
it was awesome. It was so awesome. I knew it was going to be great, but it just exceeded my expectations.
Yes, absolutely.
In every way, shape, and form. And what a great match for Ali to lose for the first time in like almost 2 years.
Right.
Since he left WWE.
And then good for Speedball to kind of get a little rocket ship attached to him. And here you go. Here's the X Division.
Yep. He was X Division champion before.
Right. Okay, number one, this should have been a King of the Mountain match.
That would have been awesome.
Because that is TNA's signature flagship match.
So I put this on here because I adore how they pulled off Joe Hendry not winning the belt.
Yes.
They knew that somebody was going to be a mega heel for pinning Joe Hendry.
Yep.
And out of left field, Josh Alexander did it. His entire demeanor changed after.
He became the biggest heel in the company in like 2 minutes.
That place erupted.
In boos.
It was fantastic. Joe Hendry, I mean, the rocket ship was on Hendry to win this.
Right. I think everyone expected Joe Hendry to win this.
But they wanted the Nick Nemeth jerk-off sesh for some reason. Here's what I think they're going to do. Nick won the belt. I'm pretty sure it's in his contract that he had to win it somewhere. He's going to lose it to Alexander at some point in time. And then Hendry is going to face Alexander for the title. at Bound for Glory.
I think it's me at Bound for Glory. I think we're building up to Bound.
Yeah.
Is there a pay-per-view?
I think there are a few TNA Plus shows, which is good, which is fine. But Alexander turning heel was an absolute treat. Turning it on Hendry, being the biggest heel pretty much for the rest of the show.
Yep.
And this was after Joe Hendry pinned Moose.
Yes.
So
because we all knew that Moose was going to lose.
Of how they booked this, I'm actually happy that they did it elimination. Like this way.
Right.
It was
I mean,
done
I guess
well.
it makes sense because of the way in which they had to do it, but
I think a King of the Mountain would have been a good idea because everybody had to pin somebody at some time.
Right.
Like that had to happen. Mm-hmm. But you could have done something with Alexander turning heel still on Hendry, but this was a great way to do it.
Yeah.
And then nobody feels like Hendry was screwed.
Right.
You have a brand new fresh heel in Alexander, which needed to happen.
Yep.
And then TNA could still have the Nick Nemeth blow your load into the TNA title picture. Right. Everybody is happy.
Right.
And then was this a positive? Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Grace, so Ash by Elegance and Jordynne Grace was a very good match.
Yes, it was.
What I loved how they did this was that I legitimately thought in multiple times during this match that Ash by Elegance was going to be the one.
Yeah.
That's how they booked it.
Yeah.
She is just on such a different level. The personal concierge is a treat. I love the guy. But Ash by Elegance just has the aura back of being like this big deal.
Right.
And once again, like we went back to it, you redeem your career. You have the freedom.
Yourself in TNA.
Yep. You do so many great things in TNA. So I am so thrilled to bits. Jordynne Grace won, but Ash did not look weak in defeat. No. So I'm very happy about this overall.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, there are some negatives.
Let's
now,
get into it.
more than I originally thought, though.
Right.
The first one, the technical issues.
Oh, yeah.
The audio was very strange. I could barely hear anybody's theme song or anything.
Mm-hmm. The video, the cameramen were a little shaky. Mm-hmm. There were cameramen that weren't in the right positions.
Yep, there were a lot of spots that were totally blown because of the lack of camera.
And, I wonder if this is because of the cuts that have been made to the live team in TNA, where those things probably show.
Yep, and then also, what was with this yellow? Like I watched this on multiple streams before just to make sure that I was not crazy. But you see this weird yellow hue. Mm-hmm. This was not just our stream. This was everybody had this weird yellow hue to it. Now, is it necessarily a problem? No. Is it? I pointed out because it's weird.
Yeah.
Generally, traditionally, it's white lights.
Yeah.
Because then every color is to the purest form.
Right.
It just sort of made it look kind of grimy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a big fan of that. Maybe that's what they went for, but I'm personally not a fan. Jonathan Gresham was pulled from this event. I couldn't find a reason.
I don't know either.
Now, he was not cleared to compete. I don't know if that is because of some sort of injury or if he was ill or what. Keeping us sort of in the dark, I felt like it was a tad unnecessary. Yeah. There was a way to do that. If you were going to say, he was not cleared to compete, you almost have to tell us why. You don't have to tell us the extent of the injury. Just say, he sustained an injury or he fell ill. They've done that before. Yeah. So being totally in the dark was weird. But then also, Kushida still did the gimmick that he was going to do with Jonathan Gresham, who he's in a feud with.
Right.
It made no sense.
No, it didn't. It was
with Rick Swann.
It was weird.
It was a good match. I liked the match, but it was just, it has to be a negative, even though it was on the pre-show.
Right.
This match was a fucking mess.
This was the weakest match on the card.
By far the weakest match. It was a mess. Multiple botches. Some parts of it, I say it was the cameramen. They totally missed originally Jody Fred getting slammed into the... Was it Jody Fred or was it Daniel Luna?
I don't
into the belt.
Right, yeah.
She went into the bell. That was like the ending of the show.
And then we missed it completely.
And then we totally missed the impact of the finisher until the replay.
Right.
But outside of that, it was just a messy match.
The good thing it was on the pre-show.
It was on the pre-show, but it was still a mess. ABC, their booking has been all over the place.
Oh, I know.
When it comes to this. So they've been teasing a split between them.
Right.
They had a couple of singles matches throughout, and they had this contractual rematch, and that's fine. They wanted to do the Hardys in Canada, but Jeff can't go to Canada.
Because of his DUIs.
Right. So you have the system beat ABC. They go back to the States. The Hardys beat them were, cookies and cream.
All right.
But why did ABC beat this system? They were teasing a separation.
Right. Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me. And I like ABC. They're great as a team, but yeah, it seems like this year their booking has just been all over.
Yeah, they were gonna split. And then not. Then they were like, oh, now we're in a team. Now it's gonna be here, and then they won the titles. It was so weird. I count that as a negative because it just doesn't make sense. Why did they win the belts? The system are literally like a big dynamic team. And even worse than that, if all of the system were going to drop the belts, why didn't Malisha drop the belt?
Right.
It was just such a weird booking choice.
It was a very strange booking choice. Seemed to be the tag team matches.
I know, it's very strange. So that is it for Slammiversary. Overall, I really liked the show.
It was a very enjoyable show.
I was very happy with it.
Yep.
But when we come back, we have a match, and actually, it's a TNA match.
Yay!